Welcome into Minnesota Vikings Now. I'm Tom Downey. Here's what's coming up on today's show. We have the latest Mel Kiper mock draft. It did go 2 rounds, but that's only one pick for the Vikings. We'll break it down, though. It's an interesting one. And the rumors around Greg Newsome started, kind of stopped. We'll break down where that sits and a potential trade to the Vikings for the current Browns corner. Before all that, make sure you are subscribed to our NFL Draft YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/chatNFL. That link will be in the comments section, the description. If you love the draft like we do here at Chat Sports, then get even more NFL Draft videos over there. We're going to kick things off with the Mel Kiper mock draft. As it relates to the Minnesota Vikings, you'll be able to find the full picks over on our NFL Draft channel, as mentioned. First, these selections just off the board before Minnesota got on the clock. Zay Flowers, number 17 overall, surprise of the Steelers. Bijan Robinson, Paris Johnson slid down to 19. Myles Murphy at number 20. Jordan Addison, a receiver off the board out of USC to the Chargers, so sticking in the area. Also regional-based pick. Deonte Banks out of Maryland goes to the Baltimore Ravens. That would have been a prime option for Minnesota, who in recent weeks have been heavily mocked with Hendon Hooker at 23 overall. It's not Hendon Hooker, much to the delight of producer Patrick. Emmanuel Forbes out of Mississippi State off the board at number 23 overall. Some real pros and cons here we'll break down. First, Mel Kiper's argument. Cornerback is a clear need for Minnesota, which replaced Patrick Peterson with Byron Murphy, but has plenty of available corner reps. Forbes needs to grow into a 6'1 frame. He weighed in at 166 at the combine, but he's a great cover corner. He had 6 career pick sixes and never missed a game because of injury. He needs to be more consistent, but has outstanding instincts, and his ceiling is high. Vikings could also look at wide receiver to complement Justin Jefferson with this pick. Emmanuel Forbes has some of the best ball skills in this year's class. 10 pass breakups plus 6 interceptions. We're talking about a player here who, over the course of his career, put up some of the best numbers. 14 interceptions in 3 years, 6 total touchdowns. He is a playmaker once the ball gets in his hands. He does freelance at times. That's okay, but he makes plays, so it's worthwhile. There are not that many negative freelance reps there. The biggest and very real and obvious concern is the weight issues. He played in the 160s, was 166 at the combine, and got to 170 at his pro day. He's just a thin player, and I don't think there's that much more weight that could realistically be added for Emmanuel Forbes at this stage. So more in depth on him in a little bit, but would you take him in round 1? D for draft, P for pass. Sound off at the pinned comment on today's show. So if the ad break comes here on YouTube, take advantage, head down there, and get those votes in. I'm always cautious about locking yourself into one position, but with the way the board should go, you should take a corner in round 1. Now, Banks and JPJ and Witherspoon Gonzalez all off the board, so you settle for your number 5 corner in this year's class. That is Forbes, because you need a corner. Byron Murphy, a Caleb Evans, Andrew Booth, Tay Gowan, Kalen Barnes. That does not intrigue me all that much. It's a frankly bit of a concerning cornerback room. And I do think Forbes fits. Now, the size, the play strength, all of that is valid concerns. But that Mississippi State offense asked a lot of man coverage, both press and off man. In theory, you're going to play a press man coverage scheme in Minnesota. He made that work. So the size, the weight is a total concern. I validate that as a real red flag. But he played pretty well with the size issues at Mississippi State. Now, 4.35 40, so you're talking a burner here. The 10-yard split was great. The vertical jump was 7.5. Bobby got to 38 at his pro day, so good news there. Talking 32.25-inch arms, so he's got everything but the weight. Everything except he's 20 pounds lighter than the lowest starting corners for the most part that aren't nickels in the NFL. Everything is there. Now, NFL Network has a player comparison for him. I'll preface this by saying I don't fully agree, but I get why it was made, and you guys aren't going to like it because it's Cameron Dantzler out of Mississippi State, who he's already gone in Minnesota. I actually have different comparisons, mostly from an athletic perspective, and play style to an extent too. Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, very similar metrics, all that good stuff, except DRC was almost 20 pounds heavier. My fun player comp is liposuction to Aqib Talib. Still, he's not the biggest guy, but he's a great ball skills, similar frames there. It's just everything is there except the play strength because he's 166, and just the weight and tackling issues are very real red flags. But I mean, you've seen guys like Xavier Howard, that Marcus Peters play style work in this type of defense. So I would not be mad at this pick in round 1 if I were the Minnesota Vikings. Some more cornerback buzz coming up, but first, make sure you are subscribed to us here at Vikings Now for more free Vikings videos almost every single day. YouTube.com/@VikingsToday. Next up, the conflicting rumors on a Greg Newsome trade. So it began this morning when Brad Stainbrook, who is a Browns-focused reporter, said, source, Greg Newsome would like to be traded. And then in about a half hour, give or take, it came out very quickly. Adam Schefter says, amidst the speculation that he wants to be traded, Browns cornerback Greg Newsome and his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, met with the team in his future role there. Greg is happy to be with the Browns. Everything was very positive, and Greg is happy with his role in playing for new defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz. And then Greg Newsome chimed in, okay, y'all, sit back a minute. Let's think about this together. I just lost a softball game in Cleveland. I'll just leave it there. So we'll spend some time having the discussion on it because, it'd be a fun idea. Will he be traded, though? The report said yes. That was later backtracked by Brad Stainbrook. And he trusted the source, and then it's been disputed by others. So will he be traded? Predict it for me. Y for yes, N for no. Now, I have a theory as to what happened here, by the way. I do think there had been some buzz of Newsome maybe not being the most happy in Cleveland. Didn't want to play nickel corner. I think that is a background information tidbit here. Maybe there was Newsome's going to be like, I'm going to request a trade if they're going to ask me to play nickel. But they met and said, we're not going to have you play nickel. So everything is fine from that standpoint. So interesting situation there. If it ends up being available, which there was a half hour where I'm like, get him to Minnesota. Now it's like, okay, it's not going to happen. But I'm intrigued. Cheap the next 2 years. $4 million, 3.4 the next 2 years. Flip the order there, of course. Could you get him for a third? Again, it's all built on the Newsome actually does want out, but is trying to play nice and not demand the trade right now or whatever. Third-round pick. You don't have a second this year. Browns might be looking for a little bit more. Maybe Cleveland goes corner early. There had been other whispers of Newsome not being happy in Cleveland before this. But now it currently sounds like not going to happen. If this trade went down, though, who would win it? MIN for Minnesota, CLE for the Cleveland Browns. Sound off for me. I'm going with Minnesota. Also worth mentioning, by the way, Kwesi Adofo-Mesnah, the Vikings GM, was part of the Browns front office that drafted Newsome in 2021, which would make a pretty logical connection if things deteriorate beyond where they currently sit, which sounds good for Newsome in Cleveland.